All right, this is Unit 10, Lesson 3. We're talking about transformation, so understanding what a rotation, reflection, and translation is, and then how patterns can change when they involve transformations, and then we'll look at figures and determine whether they are congruent after they've been transformed. SAB page 415 to 419. Okay, we're just going to start here with discussing what a rotation is. You can rotate or turn a figure clockwise or counterclockwise around a specific point. The rotation of the figure is measured in degrees, and we've already kind of talked about this, like the rotational symmetry of an object. So the point could be anywhere, right? For example, right here, it's in the middle of the triangle, but the triangle wouldn't move from there. You would imagine that it's like a spinner and it's stuck there. This one, they've got the point up at the top, and here the point is way outside, but it's still got that ability to rotate, okay? An activity you can do is on 418, you can cut out the shapes and demonstrate rotation with them. Okay, and that would just be a great hands-on activity for you guys to practice. Okay, so we're going to look at these figures here and determine the pattern of what happens. So when you look at this moon shape, what happens to it to get to the bowl type shape and back to the moon shape going the other way? Well, how many degrees has it been rotated? Well, you would say that this has been rotated 90 degrees. Okay, because it's like taking this and spinning it on its side. Okay, so the next shape in this pattern would be a crescent this way. And I'm sorry, my drawing is not very beautiful. Okay, but little crescent going that way. Okay, so reflections, on the other hand, are where something flips across the line. That would be called a reflection. So you can see there's this distinct shape and it's been flipped across the line, literally picked up and flopped over. Okay, and again, you could use 418 to model that or to practice that. So when you think about flipping things, right, it's like saying I've got this grid and I'm going to take a shape, right? And if I rotate it, right, that would be turning it like this. That's rotation, right? If I flip it, what I'm actually doing is taking it and turning it over to here. And it would line up exactly in the same spot. So if I had the point right here on this little line, do you see where the point is? It's over 1, 2, 3 boxes. When I flip it, it's going to be over 3 boxes as well, but I'm going to see the back side of that heart. Okay? Whereas a translation is like a slide. So you don't actually pick it up and you don't spin it, but you slide it across on the lines. So they've taken the original shape and they've translated it, slid it down across. Okay, and it's still facing the same direction and everything. So again, you could practice those. Transformations, on the other hand, are a reflection, like what we see in the mirror. So when we translate this, it ends up actually being the opposite shape. Exact same size, opposite shape. Okay, same to here. So these are this is a reflection and this is a translation, a slide. All right, I just took this shape and I slid it on over. So if you guys want to draw those out. So the figure that would come next in this sequence, okay, as we go to draw it out, right, notice that they face each other, don't face each other, face each other, don't face each other, face each other. This one's not going to face each other. So it's going to go like so. Right? This one, you've got white on top, white on bottom, white on top, white on bottom, white on top, white on bottom. So when I go to make the next one, right, I'm going to have the little white triangle on top and the little black triangle on the bottom. So I'm going to color this one in with black. right? And then I'm going to put a little white triangle on the top, and I'm going to have to rotate it in order for it to get there because my shapes don't draw upside down. So I'm going to rotate it around, and I'm going to slide it on over. Okay, so that should be your next shape. Okay, so those are the three kinds of transformations that we can have. I hope you guys kind of understand it. Also, you might want to watch that song to really see what transformations are about. Okay, but we're going to go on here. We're going to rotate, reflect, or translate some things. So first one. Okay, draw a congruent figure using the transformation given. So I'm going to take this L, and if I'm going to reflect it across, then it needs to look exactly the opposite of what it currently does. So it's actually going to face the other way, but all my little lines need to match up. Okay, because it is a reflection. Okay, so it actually faces the opposite way. Whereas if I rotate this shape, I don't know that I have that shape drawn there. When I rotate this shape, get it laid out on. All right, there we go. So if I'm going to rotate this shape about the axis that it is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, and it's going to go right down to here. Okay. So that would be a rotation. A translation, I'm going to take my rectangle and I'm just going to slide it on over. And it needs to stay the same size. So realize as I'm drawing these, I'm doing my best to keep them the same size. Okay, 180-degree rotation. I want you guys to try that one and then come back and check your answer. All right, so welcome back. You guys should have it looking kind of like, and I have to pull mine a little bit more because it's not quite the right shape. Kind of like this. Okay, that's what your triangle should look like. All right, so repeating patterns can be described through transformations. So when we think about transformations, we can think about the way a pattern repeats as well. So if we look at this 3 pattern, right, it's reflected across the line and then reflected across the line. Whereas this F pattern down here is also reflected, right? It's like there was a line right here between the 2 F's and then it was reflected, and a line right here. So the next shape, right, would be, let me get my pen here, an F that's laying this way. Okay, and it's a reflection. That was a very ugly F, sorry. Okay, the next one is a rotation because, right, the point is down, then the point is up. So the point starts down and it rotates up. The point comes back down, the point rotates up, the point rotates down. So my next shape would be one that has the point going up. Okay, and it is a rotation. And it's specifically a rotation of 180 degrees. Because remember, there are 360 degrees in a circle. This hasn't gone all the way around. 90 degrees, it would be pointing left or right. Okay. This next shape, gosh, it's just a translation. Another word for translation is a slide. Right? It's like they just slid the shape back and slid the shape back, slid the shape back. Okay. 9, this number 9, is a rotation. So you can see that they've rotated it on its side, rotated it upside down, rotated it on its side. So it's a rotation. And it's a 90-degree rotation because it goes from straight up and down to its side. So that's 90 degrees. If it was 180, it would be just straight upside down. Okay, 360 would leave it whole again. So the next shape should have the line here and the 9 going this away. Okay, last one here. This particular pattern is a reflection. You can see it reflects across the line. So if there was a line right here, this shape is then reflected over. So it's a reflection. All right, that's the end for transformation.